Welcome to the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show with Larry Lawson. As a former career law enforcement officer and law enforcement educator, Larry focuses on the use of tried and true law enforcement investigative techniques in conducting paranormal investigations. Despite his experience and training, Larry also keeps an open mind to discussions on topics that deal with evidence that are not quite as physical in nature. Paranormal Stakeout guests are professionals in the field of the paranormal and parapsychology, conducting the investigations and research needed to further the cause of paranormal study. Larry advocates an agenda of standardization of structure and training in the field of paranormal investigation and research for the purpose of one day being able to produce the evidence needed to convince a jury of the existence of the paranormal. Whether it is ghosts, UFOs, unsolved mysteries, hauntings or cryptids, no topic is beyond the investigative reach of Larry Lawson and the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show team. Now, here is the host of the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show, Larry Lawson.
And hello, everyone. Welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm your host, Larry Lawson, coming to you from the command post of the X-Zone Broadcast Network down here in beautiful Vero Beach, Florida. And folks, got a great show for you tonight. I'm very excited to have our guest on tonight. I think we're going to cover some very interesting topics. And for all of my listeners down in the lower 48 in the US of A, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did. I had most of my kids here, and it sure does feel better when the kids are home. So at any rate, tonight's guest, very fascinating. Tess Tetrault. She's an energy healer and a intuitive psychic medium that lives right here on the Treasure Coast of Florida, near me. She also grew up in Long Island, and if you're from Florida, you know most people are from somewhere else. She's always seen spirits, especially as a child, but when she was 12, while on a family vacation, she had a near-death experience, almost drowning, which enhanced her or really had her pick up her psychic abilities. That tragedy, along with a lot of others, made her very relatable to clients who seek out her help, and it has continued her relationships with her deceased loved ones and is passionate teaching others to learn the signs of their loved ones. She found the Holy Spirit at age 12, and she's also a cancer survivor. So God bless you for that one. Tess has studied psychic development and mediumship with some of the world's most respected and well-known mediums over the last 15 years. Excuse me. So with that, I'd like to welcome Tess to my show.
Hello.
Tess, good to see you tonight, Tess.
And good to see you too, Larry.
Interesting background. Now, let's take it from the beginning. I want my guests to kind of get to know who Tess Tetrault is. Mm-hmm. And you like a lot of folks from Florida. I'm from Ohio originally. You're from New York, but we're all Floridians now. But tell me how you, as a young child, you experienced things. So take it from the beginning. Tell us about Tess.
Okay. So thanks for having me. Tell you about Tess. I grew up in a very religious household. They were devout Catholics, still are. My brother's a Catholic priest for many years on Long Island. And I was an empath in a sea of regimented people. And so I was always aware of the spirit world, or let's say the metaphysical, outside the physical. But you're normally rounded up. Your parents are telling you, not to pay attention. You must be making it up or using your imagination. And so over time, you just really want to fit in. You don't want to stand out. You don't want to be different than other people. And most kids will do this. They'll just kind of hide their gifts because they're not appropriate for family life or for, the situation you're born into. When I was 12, we were on a family vacation with two other families on the Kankamankas Trail of Lake Winnipesaukee. How do you even remember that? I don't know. But that's the name of this vacation area in the mountains of New Hampshire. and we were body wading in the water. And that's where the water passes over these large rocks, and it's like a natural water slide. So it's a quite famous watering spot, recreational area. And somehow I wound up in deeper water, and I had a near-death experience, meaning that my consciousness was not, I had no idea that I was across the river now from safety, where it was just woods. And no one really even saw me, but somehow I got swept into deeper water. And in this experience, I saw the tunnel of light. And at the time, had no idea what my body was going through. I had no idea of where I was in relation to the river. And what happens is this watering spot, or this recreational area, it kind of emptied into this little pool. And on the one side, where the water that's closest to the picnic area, where the larger, smoother rocks are, that's the water slide park. And it empties right into this like swimming hole. But the other half of the river that went into the deeper water went over this waterfall that had boulders at the bottom that, you wouldn't have made it had you gone over there. And somehow my consciousness went to memories of my childhood, like even odd memories in this near-death experience, because I didn't go straight to a tunnel with a light and feeling a pull there or feeling that overwhelming loving presence right away. I actually went to distinct memories, which I can recall like this all happened yesterday. Playing red light, green light on the neighbor's lawn with other children. They seemed very arbitrary memories of such a short life. I was only 12 when this happened. And then went to an earlier memory of when my parents had bought this house on Long Island, and we were, 2 and 4 years old. My sister and I, we were walking around the backyard, kind of discovering our new house and new yard. And I went to those memories, and then from there went to the tunnel of light. And I had a pretty typical near-death experience. I was aware of a greater presence there. I was aware of the overwhelming light that most people feel. I think the greatest thing that people bring back from that is that unconditional love. That's not something you feel very readily here. And it certainly wasn't anything I was really that in tune to, from my home upbringing either. Mm-hmm. It was a very judgmental household. So you were either right or wrong. You were good or bad. It was white and black. And it's all judgment. It's all, your mm-hmm. behavior is all based, on judgment. So all this is going on in my head. I have no consciousness of where I am in the river. I have no idea that I'm in deep water and what's actually happening to my physical body. I was all in this mental picture in my head, and having this whole interior experience. Basically, I was told that it wasn't my time, and almost like a vacuum, the whole thing just went whoop and just ended. And then I'm looking around. Now I'm aware of where I am in this river, close to this fall that I wouldn't have survived. My hand's on a rock. I'm right next to the waterfall, but I didn't go over it. And now I'm trying to get the attention of the other people we were there with. And
nobody knew you were missing yet.
My dad was having a few beers, and like he normally did, and was flipping burgers by the grill. And I'm yelling for him because he's the closest one I could see. Didn't hear me, didn't see me. And then a boy, David, from another family we traveled with, he saw me on the other side of the river. And then someone had to get a rope from a trunk and had to make this human chain across the water in the shallow part, throw a rope out to me, and then get me back to safety to the other side, which was the picnic area. The other side of the river was just woods. There was nothing there. So that's that in a nutshell, in a, very condensed version.
Pretty traumatic for a 12-year-old.
I was born pretty fearless. So I can't say that I was traumatized by the actual, and I was a good swimmer too. So it wasn't that I couldn't swim. I think it was just the spot I was in. They wouldn't have been survivable. And I can't say I had so much fear, but it was funny because like no one had a clue, like, until I got their attention.
Well, now you mentioned you had started seeing spirits at a young age. What age was that?
Oh, probably 4 or 5. But my joke is that I shared a bedroom with a snoring sister for 18 years, and it was hard enough to get a good night's sleep. So had I said, who's the old lady by the closet? She is a very fearful person. I was very fearless, and we never would have slept. So I just pretended the old lady wasn't there. I covered my head with the covers and went to sleep.
Then your NDE ended up really enhancing your abilities from what I
More
gather.
so that, yes, but more so in a predictive manner, because as a kid, you're never thinking about your future, right? You're living in the moment. You're living in the day. So most of us, I guess, have more fear about our future. I did know when my grandfather got sick, and I did know, I knew his spirit had crossed. So that was more predictive in nature than it was as a kid. Coming out of that experience, that near-death experience, it became more of a knowing, I would say, and more about future events.
Interesting. Now you mentioned you're an empath, and that means you feel what other people are feeling, but you call yourself also an intuitive psychic medium. What exactly is the definition of an intuitive psychic medium?
An intuitive psychic medium would be someone that uses all their clairs, all their extrasensory perceptions. So they follow the 6 senses of the human body, but there are psychic senses. So clairaudience, clairsentience, clairvoyance, our knowing, our seeing. They mimic our physical senses, but they're psychic in nature. And they're usually connected to our energy centers or our chakras, which we have in the physical body. And if our chakras are, clear and energy's flowing, we can be quite receptive.
Now, at the risk of we're coming up on our first break, but at the risk of going too far, for those that are not familiar with the term chakra, can you explain that?
Well, chakras are considered vortexes, or by definition, they're wheels of light, and they're located. We have many in the body, but the most ones that are studied the most are the 7 main chakras of the human body. They start at the root or at the base of the spine and go up, and the 7th one is above our crown, above the physical head.
What is it, an energy field?
So there are energy centers located in our bodies. There's, a root, a sacral, a solar, a heart, a throat, a third eye, and then the crown. And they're energy vortexes that we're energy beings, really, Larry. So if we can start to think of ourselves like that, this may make more sense to some people. But this is from the Sanskrit tradition, the Vedics. They believe that, we have these energy vortexes located in the physical body. And when energy gets stuck in any one of these chakra systems, it can affect our physical health.
And with that, we've got to take our first break. This is going to go quick, I can tell already. Okay. So folks, stay with us. I got Tess Tetrault with us, and we'll be back right after these messages.
Welcome to Haunted Indian River County by Larry Lawson. Indian River County is an idyllic vacation spot on Florida's east coast, not far south of Cape Canaveral. Known as part of the state's famed Treasure Coast, many are unaware of the deep and fascinating history this area played in the development of the Sunshine State. Also lost among its visitors and residents are the chilling stories of the hauntings that accompany this rich history. It is here that a man named Waldo still looks after his family and properties, 6 decades after his death. Or a retired preacher is seen digging up his hidden treasure, days after he died. Larry Lawson spent more than 40 years in the law enforcement and criminal justice education profession. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree from Nova Southeastern University and a master's degree in public administration from Troy State University. He serves on the board of directors of the Indian River County Historical Society, is the director of the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, and is the owner of Indian River Hauntings, LLC, where he provides historical and paranormal tours and events. He has been actively researching the history and paranormal legends of the Treasure Coast of Florida since 2010. Larry is currently the host of Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show on the Exozone Broadcast Network and the past host of Encounters with the Other Side on WPSL Radio in Fort Pierce, Florida. Pre-order your copy of Haunted Indian River County by Larry Lawson on Amazon.com today.
And we are back with my guest, Tess Tetrault. Now, Tess, interesting story getting into this. And here you are, born into a very religious family with these gifts. And you even mentioned that at age 18, you actually found the Holy Spirit. Tell me, so you're the Christian faith?
At that time, yes, I was practicing the Christian faith because I had met a boy, my first love, and he was going through recovery. And he found really the religion to be very beneficial in his recovery. And so I went along with that on his behalf.
I see.
And while attending a service, I had the proverbial slain in the spirit experience where you actually fall to the ground and someone's there to catch you, and the Holy Spirit takes over. And as a result of that occurrence, I started having the gift of tongues. Now, some people believe that that's also prophetic in nature. Then another gift in that religion would be, of course, interpreting those type of tokens. But Larry, here I'm gonna give you a monkey wrench right now. So now I'm wondering, how does that correlate to light language? Right? So do you understand what light language is?
No, explain it to me.
Okay, so light language is a phenomenon where people that do channeling, and it not always, well, it's got to be some interstellar or interdimensional being that they're channeling. So whether that be an angel or a guide, or perhaps another interterrestrial person, right? Another entity, an ET entity, and they sound very similar. And it makes me wonder if this, speaking in tongues is really another form of light language that now has become really prevalent in our society with people channeling entities, where these sounds come out because you really can't make sense of the sounds. And in my experience, this has been some kind of very strong prayer. So I'll give you an example. One time when my son was in high school, he's 34 now, he was in high school and he missed the bus, or somehow I needed to drive him to school. And as I'm leaving the school grounds, and I remember this so clearly, I was just taken over by this need to pray in tongues. Okay. And I had no idea who it was for or why I was praying, but it was almost like a very fervent prayer. Like I had to pull my car over because I felt like I was really interceding for someone, almost life and death. And I didn't know, but I continued until it passed. After a few minutes, then I kind of composed myself and, finished my ride home. Later on that day, I found out that my brother-in-law's father had a heart attack on the operating table. And I felt like that prayer was interceding for his behalf. And he did survive the surgery and lived, several more years after that. Had she not told me that, I may not have ever known why I was, praying so hard for someone. But
kind of what I'm hearing. Do you see a direct connection between the practice of the Christian faith and what you're doing now? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I wouldn't say. I'm not trying to draw that. I'm not trying to draw the parallel to that. I'm merely posing the question, is speaking in tongues light language of some sort?
Would be a connection to the Christian faith, though.
Yes.
So,
Well, I mean, speaking in tongues comes from the Holy Spirit in a Christian church.
Tower of
Yes.
Babel. Yeah, Tower of Babel. Yeah.
Right.
Interesting. How did your parents take all of this, Tess?
Not very good.
How are they?
Not very good. They're still not very good. I mean, now, I do once a month, I take a group of people to the beach, and we're using the CE5 app and calling in ETs, and, they don't understand any of that.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get to that in just a couple of seconds, because that's an interesting subject all in and of itself. Your brother, a Catholic priest, and I've got a particular reason for asking this. How does he take what you do?
He doesn't. He really doesn't. Unfortunately, I'm always been the black sheep of the family, so it just remains that way.
The reason I ask is my departed father-in-law, God bless his soul, was a Catholic deacon, and I always wondered how he was going to take me, looking into this field. And I told him, he looks at me, oh, we pray to spirits all the time. I think it's great. And I found it very, very interesting. And I find that the Catholic Church does tend to be a little more tolerant, depending on how you're doing this, and how you're conducting it, than some other Christian churches. I just found that very, very interesting, and was wondering if you had the same experience. So,
yeah, it wasn't widely accepted or welcomed. No, it wasn't. I think most of us that are gifted, we stay in the closet for quite a long time until I guess we can't anymore.
Do you feel as though the other side just keeps pounding on you until you finally say, okay, I'm here, I give?
Well, my gifts really opened up in a professional way back in like 2020. I had started studying Reiki and got into a lot of meditation, but I went into meditation for a way of deterring anxiety, and so I went to I had a meditate class at the local library and got into meditating and met a guide right away who's been with me ever since. Very funny, has great sense of humor, and so, geez, where was I going with that?
Meeting the guy at the library, and
Yep, just learning how to meditate, and started studying Reiki in 2020, wanting to learn hands-on healing. And I was a dental hygienist. That was my career in New York for 30 years. And spirits started showing up at work, and I would be reading for the person in the chair. So, I'm getting tapped on the shoulder. I'm in a glasses, gloves, lab coat, and mask, and I'm all, in my work zone, and someone's Aunt Rose is here, so it's being tapped on the shoulder. Tell this lady in the chair who I'm working on that I'm Aunt Rose and I'm here to say hi. And that's how mediumship opened up professionally for me, because those people in the chair became my first clients. I would give them the message while I was cleaning their teeth, and then they would come back 3 months later and say, I don't need my teeth done. I just want to know the message. And then they became my first clients in New York. And that's how I got started professionally doing this 25 years ago.
How did the dentist feel about you doing that?
Oh, he loved it, because they were paying clients and they were still paying for their visit, and he didn't mind, and he was open to it. I actually read for him at one point, and he had a life-changing reading because his father came through and told him that he wasn't the cause of his demise. And in a couple sentences, I'll tell you that, because that was really quite profound for him. Mediumship can be very healing for people. His father they lived in Brooklyn. His father worked in a factory. My boss was in dental school, and his father said, could you give me a ride to the factory today? And he said, I'm sorry, Dad, I'm too busy at school, dental school. I can't today. And his father had a heart attack and died on the sidewalk. So for 35 years, he blamed himself that he was the reason his father died. And his father came through and said, no, you're not. No, you're not. I was going to go that day anyway. So you could imagine the weight that lifted off of him after all those years was, where his father, he was blaming himself.
Now, did you find that up to that point, when you started realizing your clients' relatives were coming to you, did you ever go through a period where you just kind of like, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to deal with it, just let me live my life? Did you go through that at all, or were you always very active?
No, I would say I can't. I would say by that point it was too hard to close that door. It wasn't the same as being a kid and just saying, no, cover your head with the covers. I don't want to, I don't want to see this or know this. At that point it was too hard to ignore, I guess.
Okay. Now,
and then when you see how it helps people, I think is really what inspires you to do the work. I mean, even working today, it can be very healing for some people.
Now, you've mentioned you've studied with a number of folks. I'd like to know who they are, but I also am curious to see how many of the folks out there. You see a lot of folks on TV that do it. There've been a number over the years. Do you find that most of them have a sincere interest? The ones that you've dealt with had a sincere interest in helping others, or was it truly a monetary thing to them?
I do find that you go into this line of work as a calling, just like any kind of help for others, just like my hospice work, it's a calling. And are there charlatans out there? I guess there are. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't sit here and name any. I think that karma would eventually catch up to you if that was your true motives for doing the work. Certainly anyone that's out there purposely deceiving someone, I wouldn't want to see what the repercussions of that is, either in this life or the next one, right? And I would think by how the people respond, how does your sitter respond to the information? How does it land with them? Does it make sense, with them? And some of this can't be proven. Some of this, you do in love and faith,
a lot of things we do in faith, isn't there?
Right. And so my teachers were, some you would know and some you wouldn't, like Janet Nohavik. She was an ex-nun who ran a church in New Jersey. I studied many years with her. She's deceased now, and she was quite the stern teacher too. Tony Stockwell from the UK, John Edward, James Van Prague, Stella Upton. I would think some you've heard of it, but some you haven't.
Yeah, several of those I have heard of.
Janet Nohavik brought in mediums from all over the world, though. So I even took a class with these two gentlemen from Canada that were excellent. That was one of the best classes I ever took. I think that was Brian Robertson was his name. So I'm not sure that you would, know them all, but some of them were bigger names.
And it seems as though this desire to help just kind of overshadows what all of them are doing. Like I said, I do recognize some of those names. Is this what you do now? Is this primarily what you do now?
Yes.
Okay. And all right. How many? And do you have a lot? How do people find you? Are you on the internet type of thing? Or?
I have a website. Yes. In fact, a man called today from Vero and made an appointment and just found me on the web. So so I have a website, and that's, I guess, or on Facebook, and that's where most people find me.
Do you find in times of like life's very difficult and very crazy right now around the world? Do you find that times like this cause folks to reach out to you more often than in quieter times?
I would say yes, but I would think that they reach out more for private struggles than they do for, for universal struggles. It's more their personal things, what they're going through, dealing with the loss sometimes, not getting closure. Sometimes people die in questionable circumstances. Law enforcement. And people can get answers even about the end of someone's life and was anyone else involved. I mean, they've used psychics and law enforcement for answers like that. And I do believe those answers are possible. I do believe that you can't force anyone to answer, but
that's true. But I got to unfortunately force you to stop right now because we got to go to a break. So stay with us, Tess. Folks, a lot more to come. We'll be back after these messages.
Are you ready to dive into the mysteries of the unknown? Tune into the electrifying X-Zone radio TV show hosted by the one and only Rob McConnell.
I'm Rob McConnell, and get ready for a mind-bending journey through the unexplained phenomenon that surrounds us all. From UFO encounters to cryptids, ghosts, and everything in between, we've got it covered here in the X-Zone.
Rob McConnell, the seasoned investigator and renowned radio personality, brings you the most compelling interviews with top experts, authors, and experiencers from around the world. Each episode is an unforgettable exploration into the depths of the extraordinary.
That's right, X-Zone Nation. Join me every week as we open the door to the supernatural and explore the strange and amazing stories that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew.
And it's not just radio anymore. With our groundbreaking TV show, you can now witness the sessions unfold right before your eyes. From chilling reenactments to captivating visuals, prepare yourself for a multimedia experience like never before.
With a legacy spanning over 2 decades, the X-Zone Radio and TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, is your ultimate source for mind-blowing entertainment and thought-provoking discussions. Join our growing community of truth seekers as we continue to unlock the world's mysteries.
So, why wait? Step into the X-Zone and embark on a journey that will challenge your beliefs, ignite your curiosity, and keep you on the edge of your seat.
Remember, X-Zone Nation, the truth is out there, and it's waiting for you right here on the X-Zone Radio and TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't miss a minute of the action.
Tune in now on your favorite radio station or visit xzoneradiotv.com to join the adventure. The X-Zone Radio TV show with Rob McConnell, where reality meets the unknown.
The X-Zone Radio TV show, unraveling the secrets of the universe, one episode at a time. For more information, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com.
And we're back with my guest, Tess Tetrault. Interesting conversation and quite a story getting up to this point. But now I want to ask you a philosophical question. What is it? What is it you're experiencing? What do you think the other side is? You've seen spirits. You've communicated with relatives that have passed with your clients. What is this? Is it heaven? Is it dimensions? What do you think this all is?
I think it's all a succession of dimensions. And I believe that we're all into an interdimensional reality, and the third dimension being fixed and physical, and then the fourth being more spiritual and just going fifth and sixth, going higher and higher. So I believe that when we die, just the physical body is deceased. We go back to dust, either in a coffin or being what do we call that? Cremated. Sorry, lost that word. And it's just the physical body lost. Our consciousness goes on. The personality goes on. So and those things are very verifiable, those kind of details in a reading when you're connecting to a spirit who's passed. The personality is something that is not lost. Until that soul decides to reincarnate, it continues to have the same personality or consciousness it did from its most previous life. So meaning that you wouldn't have you wouldn't maintain a personality from other lifetimes. It would just be related to the one most current. And so our consciousness survives and is just really in another dimension. Heaven is not a place. It's not a location. It's not, it's really just here in a different dimension that we don't easily see.
So we pass our energy, spirit, however we want to describe it goes. Do we go to a place to recover? And you mentioned reincarnation and then come back. That would explain a lot of people that have deja vu experiences, to simply put. But what about folks that come back in the same form that they were when they died in 1890?
And when come back, what do you mean? The same form?
My great grandfather would appear to me as he did, and he passed away in say 1910. If he's regressing and then coming back, how would we see him in that form? Does that make sense?
I'm not sure what you're asking, but I want to say that they can show up however they want. So their consciousness, that he could show up to you as a little boy. He could show up to you in his 30s or 40s, or he could show up to you as an old man. And that's going to be as individualized as we are.
And I agree. In fact, we've had plenty of experiences where an old school in Fellsmere, kids are there, but no kids ever died there. So it's got to be folks coming back from later years. But what I'm getting back, if somebody dies, they go on, and their personality would still be the same when you saw them until they reincarnate. But Grandpa comes back, and Grandpa died 100 years ago. Great Grandpa did. Did he not reincarnate then? Is my question. Did he not go through? And why would that happen? Any thoughts on why that would happen?
Well, there's lots of theories, Larry. One of the theories is that there's actually more bodies than there are spirits, right? Or the other way around, I should say, so that there's more spirits that want to return than there's bodies being born. That's a theory. So why would we come back? Some would say, why wouldn't we? Right? That's just as individualized as we are. It depends on what mission. I could tell you that I was in World War II and then turned around and came right back in 1962. So that was only less than 10 years I was in spirit and came back. But that's as individualized. My grandparents are still there and they're gone 60 years, right? So why did they stay 60 years and some people come back after 10? It's just a very individualized plan that each soul as a sovereign being has.
Well, I think also time as we see it is a construct of the human brain.
That's another theory.
So I can concur with that. And certainly time regression. I want to ask you about that in just a second, your experience with regression therapy. But there's been stories of kids in particular coming back talking about being a World War II pilot. There's a university, I want to say it's the University of Virginia, but I'm not sure, that's actually doing a lot of work with children on that. So that does lead to the belief or some evidence that we do come back or somehow we're regenerating. But I don't know, are you familiar with the hive mind theory of our souls going back and we're all part of one hive mind?
Yes, it's universal consciousness that we're just each a part of. The idea is that God wanted to show up as Larry. God wanted to show up.
He's smarter than that.
No, God wanted to show up as Tess. God wanted to show up. There's a spark of divinity in each one of us, right? And I think we're really stardust. Actually, I think that we're just cosmic light beings that. Probably most of us are hybrids of some sort.
When you do readings and you're talking to folks and they do talk to a relative, is it normally a relative that has passed recently or in the last few years? Or have you actually talked to folks whose great-grandparents may have come through?
Both, actually. And it's different every time. I just actually read for Jill on Sunday, and she heard from a grandfather who's never come through in any readings for her and has been gone, probably more than 50 years. So yeah, so if they're still there and they want to speak up, they're, certainly welcome to.
Oh, now another question. There's Tess doing a reading, and then there's Larry doing a reading with the same person 2 weeks later. Larry gives the client a little bit different information than Tess. Not necessarily horribly different, but different. Wouldn't people say, well, gosh, if one medium says it, the other's got to say the same thing, but they don't. How do you explain that? If I'm making sense, how do you explain one medium saying one thing and another medium saying something a little bit different?
I would think that spirit is so smart that they know enough to use the consciousness of the medium, because everything has to go through your brain to come out your mouth. And so whether they give the information in a picture form, or they're saying words, or they're showing an item, it's going to have to go through my brain for me to put words to it. And so it is going to use my brain and consciousness to tell
your life experiences,
to tell that story. Yes, and my life experiences. So, like I said earlier, you want to not read the mail. You just deliver the letter. So you want to give it as close as you get it without putting a spin on it, without putting your idea of it, literally repeating what you see, hear, and feel, so that so that it's coming as direct as possible.
Do you think that your readings, influence is probably a bad way to put it, but maybe hinged with a little bit of your life experiences, or how you view things, how you grew, the religious household you grew up? Is it possible that your readings also have a tinge of you in it based upon your
Yeah, absolutely. But that's why I think people will pick a reader based on, a comfortableness, or, some people could say, they read 3 different people's bios and just had a good feeling about you, or felt a connection of some sort, which definitely helps the reading. You do want to connect to your reader, and, everyone's different. If you were 20 years old, you might want a 25-year-old reader. Most of my clients are 45 and older, so they might not want a 25-year-old reader, right? And your life experience definitely comes into play. I don't see how it couldn't,
Gotcha. Now, got to take a different spin here. We've talked about, and very briefly, about everything from the collective energy, collective spirit, hive mind type of events that we are maybe going to different dimensions, all those types of things we've discussed briefly. But one thing that you didn't mention in your bio, but I know that you're involved in, is your connection with the UFO community. Tell us how that came into being.
So, and I was going to send you a newsletter because it has the story in there, but then I didn't, and I apologize about that. But I came into UFOs, and CE5 protocol I had.
Time out. What's a CEI protocol for those out there?
Okay, I'm sorry. So let me rewind a little bit. So I was always interested in a little bit, but never had any experiences with UFOs. I found Dr. Stephen Greer's work. He's a retired physician, emergency physician, who is one of the biggest names in the UAP and UFO communities, and someone who's in the forefront of getting the government to reveal what they have, right? Full disclosure. He just put a second movie out. One is Disclosure, one is called Full Disclosure, and this is just what the government's been hiding for 70 years. All this is starting to come out. So I was aware of him. I was aware of his work. I never had experiences with ETs. I'm not sure I want to, Larry. I have to be completely honest with you in that. I am very honest. I came into it because I was in a group meditation, and Archangel Michael showed up to me in a very low moment in my life, and told me that he wanted me to channel ETs and that he would be a gatekeeper. And so that's how this doorway opened up for me. And then as I was following Dr. Greer, I realized that he has an app that's downloadable on your phone for a one-time $9.95 fee. It has meditations and his protocol on there. So he coined the CE5 protocol as a way of grouping people's consciousness together and sending out a unified signal. And he's been a meditation practitioner for many years, and since he's in his 20s, and he's had experiences since he's young. So that's how he went down that road of UFOs. But I haven't had experiences other than us seeing UFOs on the beach and UAPs on the beach. One night we had up to 24 sightings. I haven't seen any ones up close and personal, and I'm not sure I want to.
Well, how do you know they were UAPs? I mean, what did they do that made you not think that they were a satellite, a helicopter?
They all had the same kind of movements, which were very erratic. So, I mean, you wouldn't see a plane go up and down and sideways and back up and down and sideways. It was almost like they jumped around. Then a couple times we decided we were going to send out a collective signal and ask them to go make it brighter. And it did. The light went brighter. I mean, these are not objects that move in a straight line in any one direction. These are an object that seems to jump around in the sky in some weird, back and forth and up and down motions.
Okay. Well, I've got a couple of other questions I want to get into, but we're about 15 seconds away from our next break. So when we get back, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about why you feel you were asked to channel UFOs or alien beings. So folks, stay with us. We'll be back for the last part of our show in just a minute. So stay with us.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
Welcome to Haunted Indian River County by Larry Lawson. Indian River County is an idyllic vacation spot on Florida's east coast, not far south of Cape Canaveral. Known as part of the state's famed Treasure Coast, many are unaware of the deep and fascinating history this area played in the development of the Sunshine State. Also lost among its visitors and residents are the chilling stories of the hauntings that accompany this rich history. It is here that a man named Waldo still looks after his family and properties, 6 decades after his death. Or a retired preacher is seen digging up his hidden treasure, days after he died. Larry Lawson spent more than 40 years in the law enforcement and criminal justice education profession. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree from Nova Southeastern University and a master's degree in public administration from Troy State University. He serves on the board of directors of the Indian River County Historical Society, is the director of the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, and is the owner of Indian River Hauntings, LLC, where he provides historical and paranormal tours and events. He has been actively researching the history and paranormal legends of the Treasure Coast of Florida since 2010. Larry is currently the host of Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and the past host of Encounters with the Other Side on WPSL Radio in Fort Pierce, Florida. Pre-order your copy of Haunted Indian River County by Larry Lawson on Amazon.com today.
Welcome back, folks, with my guest tonight, Tess Tetrault. And wow, this evening has gone quickly. But I want to make a comment first. If you want to see some really terrific other broadcast shows on this network, go to xzbn.net and see all the terrific shows on the X-Zone Radio and TV channel. Great shows, great programming. You can also find out more about me on my website, www.indianriverhauntings.com. You can catch us on Facebook at Indian River Hauntings or Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation. If you'd like to see some of our YouTube channels, you can get a hold of us or see us at Indian River Hauntings 2341. So check me out further. And if you got any comments, you can get a hold of me at ghostguy.com. And Tess, how can folks get a hold of you?
Well, I'm at treasurecoastmedium.com or what else? Tess Tetrault as me is bring you right to a booking or a Facebook, /Treasure Coast Medium as well.
And I made a little mistake there. If you need to get a hold of me, ghostguy59@gmail.com is the best way to get a hold of me directly. So fascinating stuff. I do want to ask you, going back to our last bit of our conversation there, why do you think the Archangel Michael, I'll get it out, wanted you to channel alien life forms? I mean, how did he just say, "Hey, Tess, I got a job for you," or did something develop that led you to that?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, twice. I've worked with other archangels before, but not Archangel Michael unless I was doing a property clearing. And it was in a group meditation where this happened, where Archangel Michael showed up to tell me this. The first time I was waiting for a judge's decision, and it was at a very stressful point in my life. And I couldn't tell the story without crying until recently, but now I can get through it. So he basically showed up with two giant wings, Larry. I mean, 8-foot wings that just surrounded me in this folding chair I was sitting in. And I was very emotional at the time. I was out in public at a group meditation. I didn't want to be recognized. I was kind of hiding under my hoodie. I just wasn't in a good state of mind, really, waiting for this judge's decision. And he came in and wrapped his wings around me and said, and I was emotional, and he said, "Do you see how sharp my sword is?" And he showed me the edge of his sword. And then he says, "Do you see my shield? Look how thick it is." And it looked like an inch thick. And he said, "I got you, girl. I got you. It's going to be fine." And actually the decision came that later that week, and it was fine. It was the judge's decision was in my favor, and it all went well. And then at another group meditation, because I do believe in group meditations, I think they're powerful, Archangel Michael showed up again. And that's where he said to me, "I want to have this working relationship with you. I want to open this doorway of ETs, and I'll be your gatekeeper." And really, since then, Larry, not much else has transpired. That was several months ago in that meditation. And I meditate, weekly. I won't say daily, but definitely weekly. And I'm just in this waiting now to see how this is going to unfold. But that's what put me down this path of doing these monthly groups at the beach and using the CE5 app.
Okay, and that's a phone app.
It's an app that you download on your phone. It has a one-time fee to do that. And within that app, there are crop tone crop circle tones, which they found that have a frequency and a noise all their own. There are several recordings that he has recorded himself. We set up a puja table, which is a prayer table. So it's an offering of some sort. So we do bring fresh flowers. I bring fruit as an offering. We light a candle. There's a picture of a Buddha, there, and a Buddhist prayer. And in the app, Dr. Greer's meditations are on there, and there's several to pick from. So I pretty much play them over a loudspeaker at the beach. But also on this puja table, everyone is encouraged to put an item of theirs on the table as a way to signify the intention of linking our consciousness. So Dr. Greer has a lot of knowledge, and he's all over YouTube, so he's very easy to find. He studied really interdimensional beings and the different dimensions that are in space and the different types of beings that are out there. He feels that these beings have actually intercepted missiles. They've been spotted over nuclear plants, monitoring what goes on there. So, and none of this is new. All this information has been around forever. But that's really how I got started down that road.
Going back just a little bit, and I want to get back to Dr. Greer in a second. Archangel Michael coming to you, certainly a very well-known figure in the Christian faith. He came to you, said it's going to be okay. Do you find that that's further evidence that all of this is linked, that all religions are linked, the dimensions are linked? Everything
yes, I feel it's very universal. I feel that, in general, it's all very universal. And I believe that just the human constructs of religious and how people decided that they would branch off and how all the religions started and all became very different, one from the other, and then judging each other's religion, not even to say, we all are good. It became a competition of sorts.
Now, getting back to Dr. Greer then, interesting figure, certainly a controversial one. And I certainly don't want to put words in his mouth since we're talking about him, but he has an interesting theory that many of the UFOs that we see aren't extraterrestrial. Am I correct?
Well, he believes that there have been so many crashes over these years that were covered up and concealed from the general public. There's quite enough evidence now, because most of these whistleblowers now are retiring. So now they have nothing to lose by coming out and talking about what they've seen and participated in even. And so, they feel that they have, he knows for a fact that they have reverse engineered ships. And that's the thing. Are we looking at one that's a true ET ship, or is it one that the American government has re-engineered to look like a ship? And they talk about how for 70 years, the government's been planning a fake crisis in the interstellar space. So they're believing that the government is ramping up to have a false flag or false narrative that these are going to be human fashioned spaceships, but they'll be trying to sell everyone, the general public. Well, that's why they're trying to get interstellar weapons, right? Which they did to some point.
For what purpose? Well,
because the false narrative is that these ETs here are dangerous and that they're going to start a war against us. And frankly, they've been here all this time. Why would they have not done it already? If they were here for negative reasons, well, what are they waiting 70 years for? And then some people believe they've been here. They built the pyramids. Some people believe that ETs and angels have more in common than we know. And that leads back to the question you just asked me, how connected is all this? I believe it's very connected. I believe it's just semantics. It's what do we want to call it? What religion do we want to name it? What entity? What do we want to call it? But these things have been around for a long, long time. This is not new. But that's the false narrative that he talks about, that the government
And
is trying to fund interstellar weapons, saying that we need them against the ETs.
okay, but what? And I'm not asking you to put words in his mouth, but from what your interpretation is, once again, why he wants to start a war with them, or he just
No,
what's
he's not. No, he believes it's friendly contact. He doesn't believe that they're here for negative reasons at all. He believes that the opposite of that. He believes that they have already stopped missiles from launching and blown them up midair.
And that the ETs have physically done this.
That the ETs
Okay.
have physically done this over nuclear plants that are in full operation now. And the whole thing is that the elites, the big money makers in our society, all make money when there's a war. So they all want a war. Even if it's a fake war, it's still a war.
So building up the arsenal, but not actually using it on anything right now, just to build it up.
No, but they can, right. They can still fund it. They still want to get taxpayers' money to fund these weapons that we don't even need.
Mm-hmm.
And they have built some already. You know, they did, I think, with Eisenhower I'm pretty sure as President Eisenhower got money for interstellar weapons. Like they had started it already, but I think over the years, maybe they weren't funding it as much.
Well, there's a lot of talk, not just from Dr. Greer, but I've also heard it from other places, that the Tic Tac, the famous Tic Tac that was caught by Navy fighter pilots, I believe off the East Coast, I think they may be both coasts, but are actually not extraterrestrial, but aircraft or flying objects created by the Lockheed Skunk Works. Are you familiar with that at all?
Yes, Lockheed's, and there's a couple other companies besides. Yeah, those are the ones that are all involved with. Even you're going to hear news about cloning. That our American government has cloned ETs and humans together.
So we've got ETs here right now. Okay.
We have ETs here right now. Some people believe they've been here for thousands of years, and was the civilization that actually built the pyramids. There's another theory that under the pyramids in Egypt is an actual ET space station. This is something that they just discovered.
Well, I've also heard rumors that there's under the Griffith Park Observatory in California, there's a large
and also there's supposed to be places in the ocean.
Okay. Now, different types of ETs. These are not all from the same spot. We've heard of the Nordic ETs, the reptilians,
the Palladians. Yep. There are several. There are plenty of races, and some we haven't even, we're not even aware of. Yeah, it's quite, and to think like we're the only entities in the universe is pretty small-minded, right? I mean,
I would agree. The
universe is a big, huge place.
I would agree. I would agree with that. But I've got to ask the question: how come, if all of them are here, how come we haven't seen more? I mean, okay, the government has put a clamp down on it, but now Greer is talking about the government's flipping the story on us, saying that what we're seeing is actually reverse engineered spacecraft.
Well, that it could be, right? Yes, that it could be. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think he's pretty strong on that subject, from what I've seen anyway. So interesting.
And it changes every day. I mean, I get his emails all the time, and he's forever, writing, recording YouTube clips, or interviewed, or being interviewed, what have you. And you're just going to see more and more of this, especially in 2026. I think is going to be a really pivotal year.
Well, that's what we're hearing.
For this disclosure to happen. And I'm not sure if this will be this, what they talk about, this main thing that's they're going to stage this, but it's been in the plans for 50 years.
Well, all I can say is stay tuned, folks. And unfortunately, Tess, our time has come. This show went very, very fast, covered some very interesting topics. Hope to have you back again on the show again soon. Thanks for joining us, and thank all of you out there for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode. And until then, take care, and we'll see you on the other side. Have a good night.